Okay, so awesome. So I'll get into today and what we're here to do. My name is Lisa K. Satchel. I am the program coordinator for HBCU in LA. So I'm just here to talk to you guys and give you a few housekeeping things before we get started. So this is our first session, and we're so excited to have you guys here. The session is being recorded, as you may have seen. And so we're going to be doing 2 different Q&As tonight. So the first Q&A will happen around the program and just everything the program has to offer. Then the second Q&A will happen, and that'll be just about resumes and all that good stuff. And the way you can ask a question is you message me directly. So I'll change my name in here so it says Lisa K. Satchel, so you guys know. But yeah, you'll see my name, Lisa K. Satchel. You can message me directly and say, hey, Lisa, this is my question, and I'll call on you when it's your turn. And then throughout the rest of this evening, just stay on mute unless you're called on, just so we want to make sure that our presenters can get all the information out and just really share everything they have to share. So a few more things I want to show you guys. I'm going to share my screen really quick here. This is our virtual tour page. So if you go to eicop.org/virtual-tour, you'll see this page. And this is really just so you guys can be in tune with everything we have going on. As you see, as of now, we have events once a month, just with info sessions and different amazing opportunities. So on October 7th, we'll have a recruiters roundtable. We'll have an alumni panel on November 11th and interview tips on December 9th. And as you can see, we have different descriptions here, and you can go ahead and register now by clicking on these. So get yourself signed up so we can get you guys in there. And then also when you guys are ready to apply, because our application for the HBCU in LA program goes live tomorrow, you go to eicop.org/interns, and you can see everything about our program here. So you see a good recap video from our inaugural cohort, the steps of our process, different components, just a bunch of different good information here. And when you're ready to apply, hit here for apply now. And you'll see how to apply, different eligibility requirements, all that good stuff. Definitely stuff we're going to go over today, but here it is written out for you. And when you're ready, go ahead and log in. And obviously the application is live right now, but you'll put your email address here, and then your password, and create an account or sign in, whatever you have to do, wherever stage you are in the process. And yeah, that's everything I really wanted to share with you guys before we get started. I am so excited for what we have going on today. So we'll have Stacy Milner. She is the founder and CEO of HBCU of Entertainment Industry College Outreach Program and the HBCU in LA program. And we're just so excited to have you guys with us today and to tell you more about the program. So without further ado, here is Miss Stacy.
Hello, everyone. I see some familiar names, which I just want to say at the top of this, we do take note of folks that show up on a regular basis. And when you're here, you're showing an interest, like this is really important to me. I want to know about this. So we're gonna make note of those things because it really will bode well for you during the application process. When we can kind of look back and see, who attended, were they, consecutive in their attendance? Were they really trying to get everything they needed to know in order to participate in this program? So, so just know that we're mindful of that. And I'm going to tell you that everything we're going to do over those 4 sessions that we currently have scheduled is to help give you the best footing to be able to become a part of our cohort for next summer. So it's intentional what we're doing. It's not just to talk. It is really to help you have the tools and the nugget and the resources to be able to successfully land a spot in this amazing program. So I'm really excited to just kind of give a high level overview. A lot, like Lisa said, is on the website. Just take your time, go through it. We try to make it as simplistic as possible and easy for you to follow. So as she mentioned, and I just have to say, I love seeing everybody's faces. So I am a person that I love when people have their camera on because I like to see them, but I understand some people can't have a camera on. It's okay. But I do love to see you all because it's not every day that we get to see all of us together. And it's just, to me, it's the site that I've always wanted to see. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Stacy Milner. I'm the founder and CEO of this program. I started this program because I wrote a book called Leveraging Up, the Key to Launching Your Entertainment Career, and went on a national book tour to colleges and universities across the country. And when I landed on the campus of HBCUs, I was like, industry is not coming to campus. They're not tapping this talent. And so I went back to the industry and told them, we need to go to HBCUs. And once I started going to HBCUs, then I said, okay, that's not enough. We can't just come to campus and get you excited. How do we actually create a way for you to actually be here, right? And so that's when the HBCU in LA program came to life. So Lisa, you can kind of go to my page and then keep me on track with this. Yeah, keep me on track with this whole thing here. You can go back to me for a second. So anyway, I wanted to make sure you had a way to actually be here. And so in doing that, we knew that creating an immersive experience for you to actually have an opportunity to have a job and do an internship in the industry was going to be viable and important to your career. Also providing, workshops and things of that nature. So that's me. And you'll get to know me a lot more as we go throughout the fall tour. And I would also ask you guys, if you have friends, people that want to come that you haven't heard about it, spread the word. We really want to get as large a group as possible to know about this program, because it really is changing the lives of HBCU scholars, one student at a time. The next slide. So I'm gonna tell you just a little quick story. This young lady, and I always talk about the importance of having an internship, right? Because the entertainment industry is a very closed industry. It's really hard to get in on the inside. But one of the most important ways of getting that first foot in the door is through an internship. And this young lady was an intern at Disney, and she was a part of their post-production team. She loved editing and, where they kind of finish up the film and get it ready for the box office. So she was a part of their editing team, and her folks had told her, go to every social event, networking event that they have to offer. You want to take full advantage of it. And so she went to a session, and just so happens that the people from The Princess and the Frog were there, and they looked at her and said, you would make a great princess. And she just kind of shrugged her shoulders. But the next day she went back to work, and her boss called her in and said, they want to use you as the reference. And that just means they want to draw the character after you, use your image. And so this lowly intern down in the basement of post-production ended up becoming the face of Princess Tiana. So for those of you in Louisiana, New Orleans, all of that, you probably know all about Princess and the Frog, but she became the princess. And the coolest thing about this is that this is my daughter. And I would have never thunk in a million years that my kid would ever be immortalized as a Disney princess. But this is my daughter, Jamie, and she is the face of Princess Tiana. So you guys are also today having an opportunity to meet Princess Tiana's mom. So that's my Jamie story. All right, so let me tell you our mission. It is to create access and opportunity for you. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? Who's giving you all the access? So folks in the industry have uncles, cousins, people like that can get them in the door. I like to say that I am your now uncle, cousin, person to be able to help bridge you into this industry. So it is all about creating access and opportunity for students who traditionally just have not had the opportunity to do so. Additionally, it is about establishing a diverse pipeline of talent. The industry says that they want to have a more diverse workforce. Well, I'm taking away every excuse and saying, here's this amazing breadth of talent that comes from our nation's HBCUs. And so that's also a key component. It's also about exposing you to valuable hands-on work experience. We give you an opportunity, once you become a part of our cohort, to be able to work with major studios, networks, talent agencies, production companies, and just work across all sectors of the industry. It also provides pathways for leveraging and learning how to launch your career. So when you're here, we do professional workshops with you, right? We're helping you to meet those folks that are key players in the industry so that you can network with these folks, know them long-term, and it helps to leverage your career in the end. My intent is not for you to just have a feel-good time in an internship program. It is for you to go from intern to hire. It's about you landing a job at the end. So it's never just, we're doing this wonderful thing that, is a great summer for you, but if it doesn't lead to a job, why participate, right? So for me, it's really about getting you that full-time opportunity. Next slide. So the program, a little bit about it. It's 8 to 10 weeks in length. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer, as much as 12 weeks. It just depends on whatever company you're working for. So some studios have a 10-week program. Some studios have a 12-week program. I think we had some students at Pixar this summer, and I think their program went all the way until the end of August. So I think some of those students are just wrapping up. So it just depends on the company, but traditionally it's 8 to 10 weeks that you come here to LA and have an opportunity to work across the industry. The program provides you with housing, so you don't have to pay a dime to live here for the summer. And we have an amazing partnership with Emerson College that is based out of Boston, but they have a satellite campus here in LA, and we use their campus during the summer where we house all of our students. And it is an amazing, beautiful facility set right in the heart of Hollywood. You look over one direction and you're looking at the back lot of Paramount Pictures. The other direction, you're looking at Capitol Records Tower. So you are right in the heart of Hollywood, and it's a very safe environment. I also mentioned we have professional development speaker series. We want you to gain as much knowledge and information as you can. So you may be working in, let's say, I don't know, marketing, but we want you to also understand what happens on the development creative process side. So you're going to hear it from all different, perspectives, and it's all to help you understand how everything interconnects and connects. So this is what goes into making this product come to life. We kick off the summer with our HBCU Hollywood Welcome Week. And that is our time to say, welcome to LA. We take you behind the scenes. You go to Warner Brothers for the day. You spend the time walking around the back lot. We take you over to Disney, all these different places where we welcome you and give you kind of like, acclimate you before you jumpstart, your internship. And also our welcome week next summer, we're going to have something really exciting that we'll talk about a little bit later as we go through the presentation. But that's how we kick off the summer. The application, as Lisa mentioned, is open now. It will close December 20th. So we've got a nice window of time for you guys to get this in. So when you go away for Christmas, you're done. You're not thinking about this. And then come the 1st of January, we will start reviewing applicants. And then, hopefully you'll be on that track to leveraging to becoming one of our cohort members for summer 2022. I will also say this, do not wait to the last minute to start the process. As soon as you can, make sure your resume is in there. You can go back and update as many times as you want. So if your resume changes, just come and put in a new resume. But those resumes in the very beginning are really, really important because we watch them as they come in. So you want to get that resume in there as quickly as possible and write your personal statement. Okay, next slide. And Lisa, make sure I'm staying on track too, because I know that I talk a lot and then I'll run over. But at any rate, these are just some of our industry partners. So when you think about the types of companies that you could actually work for in this industry, take a screenshot of this, guys, and then just go do some research. Find out who these companies are, what type of opportunities they have. And so when you talk about, I think somebody mentioned what type of, I think there was a question that we got in advance, and it was, where is it? Where is it? I wrote it down. Oh, which industries will students in the program be most involved in? So look at this, all right? So you got film, you got just the traditional entertainment side, media, communications, PR, marketing. I mean, there's so many different things, but it all revolves around the entertainment space. Even from a technology standpoint, we're doing a lot in the technology space. All of these companies have a myriad of opportunities, and we'll go over some of that as I continue to go. But these are just some of our partners, and I always tell students, make sure that you research these companies, research the industry, know why you may want to work for a certain company, and that'll help you to be prepared when you do the interview to know exactly, you know, your talking points and even questions that you may have for that industry partner organization. Okay, next slide. So here we go. Look at all these categories. These are just some of the opportunities that you could find yourself working in. And we have all this, you know, there's a drop down for you to be able to kind of select some of these areas. I will say this, we want to know your area of interest, because there are multiple areas and ways in which we could place you for an internship opportunity. But this is just an overview. So if it's advertising, right? Animation, you like editing, that's the post-production side, right? Finance, there's legal, right? People don't even think about that. A lot of times if we come to campus, there's no law school students coming out to see us, but you should be coming to see us because there's entertainment law, there's government relations within these studios. So when you think of Hollywood, don't think of it in terms of writing, acting, directing, and producing, but think of it in terms of a business. Every business has an infrastructure that supports the work that it does. All right. So when you think about a movie that comes on screen, all of these different areas that you see right now play into that product being before you on the big or little screen or on your streaming platform. All of this plays a role. So if you like, if it's like, you know, I like finance. Well, great. Why don't you come crunch a budget for us for a multi-million-dollar movie, right? So there's so many different ways, and you just have to think about it differently in terms of what you can do. Next slide. So I mentioned earlier our HBCU Hollywood Welcome Week. We also have a Hollywood Summit. So this past summer, we launched our first HBCU in LA Hollywood Summit. It was 4 days of curated sessions where we invited HBCU community leaders. So we invited presidents and faculty, we invited our students and the HBCU community to come together for the first time with the entertainment industry. This summer, next summer, I should say, we're hoping that COVID and all the variants are gone, and we will be live here in LA. And so we're gonna have that summit in person is our goal. And it's going to be amazing. So the one last summer we had Netflix came and did a whole session on the post-production side. Pixar came and did a session on, you know, the creation of the characters of Soul and went into the whole authenticity of how they created those characters. So there's just so many different levels. On the talent agency side, a lot of folks don't think about the talent agencies. They're the folks that represent all the talent that creates content, from acting to directors to producers to basketball stars and folks like that that go beyond just what they do, you know, from a professional standpoint. So the summit is something you should make note of. It'll be the first week or so of June. And we are going to invite the entire HBCU community. It will also be a hybrid model. So we will also have it available online for folks who will not be able to be here in person. But yeah, so that's our Hollywood Summit. So stay tuned for more information on that. And this, oh my goodness. So every summer, well, this summer we welcomed it back because 2020 COVID was too much. We did not do our student film project. But this is our crew that we had the opportunity to fly into LA to shoot their our short film project. And it was an amazing experience. So what we allow you all to do is to pitch your story idea. And we end up taking one of those ideas and putting pen to paper, writing a script, creating a shooting draft, hiring one of you as a director, somebody else as producer, set decorator, costume, wardrobe. I mean, we involve the entire, try to involve the entire cohort to be a part of this filmmaking process. And I have to tell you, this was an amazing experience. They did a phenomenal job. So the students write it, they direct it, they produce it, they act in it, they even do the post-production. And right now, our students are actually working on post-production as we speak. So it's pretty phenomenal, the experience. At the end of the day, we have a beautiful piece of work that gets to showcase our HBCU talents, voices, their stories they want to tell, and it's just an amazing experience. So this was so much fun. I can remember this day so vividly. But anyway, so that's our student short film. So if you are a creative type, we know that when you're doing your internships, a lot of times you're not on a production set, you're not doing things in physical production because it's unionized. And so you don't get a chance to touch that. So we want to make sure that every year we have a collaborative student project where we can do a short film. We also like to do a capstone project. So if it's something like a marketing PR campaign, we'll do something like that with students that are interested on that side. But we really try to make it so that you understand collaboration, teamwork, and what it takes to really be a part of, this industry and bringing content to life. So application requirements. We want a resume. It should be 1 page. You guys are in college, or you're going to graduate right at the end of the summer and going to come to LA. We still need a 1-page resume, because you can imagine what our issue is that it's volume, right? We have a lot of resumes, so we don't have time to read a 2-page or a 3-pager resume. It just doesn't work. And sometimes those resumes, as a recruiter myself and having done staffing for 30 plus years, your resume literally gets 10 seconds before me. That's all I need to sum up your resume and know whether or not you're a fit. So make it 1 page. Don't give us a whole lot of stuff to read. And you're going to get more information on that later. So Christina, who's going to speak to you, is going to give you a lot of good info. You have to have 2 letters of recommendation. I think I saw a question where someone said, I've never met my professor. So how do I get an academic, letter of recommendation? I'm just going to tell you this. I understand we're going to have to probably, change some things just because of the environment we're in, but we want you to go to, maybe it's somebody from your high school, advisor or teacher, but it just needs to be someone who can speak to who you are, right? And what you are capable of. So I would just say, go that route. Don't worry so much, but hopefully, by now, even with an online course, you've developed some sort of relationship with academic professionals. So that's my best answer on that. We need a 300-word personal statement. It doesn't have to be only 300 words, but that is the minimum. Now, granted, I don't want a book, but it just needs to be, tell me who you are. Like, why do you want to be a part of this program? What benefit do you, hope to gain from it? But just, give me something interesting to read. And I have to tell you, there's some people that just write the standard, but you kind of need to think, right? This is a creative place. So kind of give me a unique story about yourself and what this would mean to you, all of those sort of things. We say a 3.0 GPA because that is the industry standard. We do, however, still consider students if they are below that GPA. So don't see the 3.0 and figure, oh, I don't qualify. I'm not even going to apply. Don't do that. All you need to do is give me an explanation, right? Unfortunately, this, that, and the other. If your package is still strong and everything else looks good and this falls short, you'll still be considered, okay? So you guys have any questions at this point?
Yeah, I've gotten a few questions. I want to go to Valerie Lambo first, if you want to come off mute and share your question.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Valerie. I'm a marketing and finance major from Georgia State University in Atlanta. My question was, what are common mistakes that you see students make on their applications? And what are some factors that make students a standout applicant?
Oh, good question. Common mistakes is they don't follow instructions. They don't get everything in on time. They will, even on their resume won't have their contact information. They have the wrong email info. So you're trying to reach them, you can't reach them. A lot of times you guys forget to put your skills on there because you're so used to technology that you're not saying what software you know. And we need to know that. And so that all makes for, the student, to be a complete package. Also, just formatting. Sometimes you'll get something, this resume is so doodle daddle. It's like, okay, how am I reading this? There's so much color and there's so many things happening. That's bad. And also just even in a personal statement, I'll get a personal statement and they just literally start writing and we get blank. So whose name is that? So, make it a letter form, like those types of things. The ones that stand out to me are those that do that. Students that, have a demonstrated interest and it shows based on what they've done from engagement on campus to, they volunteered at XYZ or, or they've showed like, something that they did that was significant. So even if somebody's a barista, right, at a Starbucks, they think that that's not important. No, what contribution did you bring? Did you, have a milestone there? Was there something that you did that's unique and special? Talk about that, right? And the other thing is that I just think students, their resumes are written so poorly. And we have to put those resumes in front of industry folks. And sometimes it's just like, wow, like who told you this resume was good? So those are the kind of things, but really it's about a student that knows what they want, know who they are, and they're able to articulate it.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Brianna McCarthy. And again, message me if you have a question. I see some people have repeat questions, but just message me if you have any questions.
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Brianna McCarthy. I'm a senior at Florida A&M University. And my question was regarding to the student film project. So I wanted to know, like, do you have to be in an internship related to film in order to do the student film project?
No, you do not. You just need to be a part of our cohort. And what we do is we send out information and we ask all the students to, are you interested in writing? Do you want to direct? Do you want to produce? Like, blah, blah, blah. And so we give you guidelines and we let everybody submit a pitch idea. Our directors had to, put together their storyboards and tell us, how they would shoot this and why they would shoot it. So, there is a process, but it's open to everyone. One of the students who I didn't even think would be, as strong in this area ended up being the one that got chosen to write our project. So you just never know, but it's open to the entire cohort.
Thank you.
And you may have never done anything creative at all. And we had, I think, a business and a finance guy from Morehouse who actually was our producer and was amazing. So yeah, we don't look at, what your focus has been. We look at your passion. Why do you want to be a part of this project?
Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from, please forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Nijane King, about pieces of advice.
It's Nijane King. Hi, I'm Nijane King. I'm a junior biology, physical therapy, and mass communications major from Jackson State University. So one question that I had was, sorry, give me 1 second. One question that I had was, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to students during the program? And then are there any specific qualities that you guys are looking for in picking students?
And picking students, yes. I think I kind of went over some of those already,
Yes.
but it's also listed on our website. But really, it boils down to me, it's about students that, again, know who they are, know what they want to do, they're able to articulate it, it shows in their resume, right? And even if their resume doesn't align per se with, this particular industry space, their personal statement helps us to understand more of who they are. Those are the things. And it's really like, the other thing that I love to say, and I'm just going to pull this from the website, but it's a resume that reflects your passion, So if you say, I love finance, but you haven't had one internship in finance, you haven't served as the treasurer on a campus program, you're not convincing me. You see what I'm saying? So your resume and your personal statement really needs to speak to your passion. And there needs to be some substance to who you are. That would be, the most important thing. So, and also just, like I said, that demonstrated interest. So I don't remember the other part of your question, but hopefully I answered it.
Okay, and then do you guys have sports media? I didn't see that on the list that you have provided, but I was just curious.
Yes, there
Okay.
is sports media, yeah. And actually, during our summit, NBC did a whole panel and presentation on careers in sports and media. So yeah. All you got to do is think about one of these huge companies, right? If you think about Disney, think about ESPN. Of course, they have a sports media area, right? So it's really too just about going on to these companies' sites and just looking at, the overview of their organizations. That's where all the internships are. Yeah. And I want to say this, and I meant to say this at the top. For those of you that are in the areas where Hurricane Ida has ravaged everything, my heart goes out to you. You're in my thoughts and prayers. I've talked with students who have been affected, but just know that we care about you, and I feel for you guys in this. It's just like, leave y'all alone already. But for those of you that are showing up, and I think it was Southern University Law Center, I think you guys weren't able to get in, but hopefully the students got information from your professor that reached out to me. But wow. So let's make some good things happen out of this. All right, next question.
Amazing. We have a question from Princess Cub.
Hi, my name is Princess Cub. I'm from Jackson State University. My major is media production with a concentration in film and edit. My question is, how many are you allowing to come into your internship each summer? And if they don't make it the first go round, are they able to reapply?
Oh, good question. Yes, absolutely. They're able to reapply. Even if they have been a part of our cohort, like the students that were a part of our cohort this summer, they are still eligible to apply again. So, the goal is hopefully we have you coming consistently so that at the end, when you graduate, you've had enough experience and built a marketable resume that makes you employable, right? So yes, to that question. And then what was the first part?
How many are able to join each summer?
Yeah.
Or do you take a certain amount?
Yeah, so traditionally it's been about 30 that come to LA, so it's super competitive. But this summer it'll probably be more like around 50. And that number could grow, but right now that is the number. But because of the hybrid situation, there could be some students doing things remotely. There could be some students doing things in person. So our numbers could fluctuate and increase, but that is traditionally where we have stood in terms of how many we bring.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I don't know who this is on the iPhone, but somebody asked, can I participate multiple times?
Yes.
Great. Okay, our next question is going to come from
And
Lynette.
I will say this too. The program is open to students, undergraduate, graduate students. Obviously, we have law school students that also are a part of the program. But if you graduate, if you're a graduate, let's say in December, you are still eligible to apply for this program. So you are eligible up to 6 months post-graduation to participate. So our goal is to, try to get as many in as we can.
Okay, great. Lynette Richardson had a few questions.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Lynette Richardson from Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. First, thank you for the opportunity. And second, my apologies for my camera not being on. I am at the hospital with my grandmother, so it's just not the best background. But my question is more clarifying questions. I wanted to know are we researching those organizations that you shared with us in the beginning to gain a sense of where our preference is as far as the application process is concerned? And are we then matched with particular organizations, or is it a rotational program?
Yeah, it's not a rotational program. And yes, I like for you to look at those companies, to research them, to get a sense, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? Until you look at organizations and see exactly the opportunities that they have. So if it helps you to kind of narrow down, where you think you might want to be, that's great. And it's really just so you can have knowledge. In terms of matching student, cohort members to our member studios, what we do is once we vet the talent that comes to us from an application standpoint. So say for instance, we traditionally get about 2,000 applicants for this program. We will narrow that 2,000 down to 200 that we consider to be the cream of the crop. That's what our selection committee is in the process and job of doing, right? We got to figure out, we got to comb through, pull the best that we feel meets the needs of our industry partners. The industry partners then get a resume book that has all of this amazing talent in it. And then they begin to say, oh, Stacy, we want to interview these 5, or we want to interview these 6. And then they reach out to you. First, they let us know that they're interested. We then reach out to you all and say, NBC Universal is interested in you for this particular role. And that's how the process works. And then they interview you, they then make the offer, and then you become a part of the cohort.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Stacy, I saw a question earlier that was asking what's like a good piece of advice you can give students during the summer? Like what's something you love to share with the students over the summer?
Oh my goodness, have fun. Have fun, engage, be present in the moment. Sometimes people are so thinking about where they want to go and if it's going to turn into a job that they leave the moment that they're in and don't show up, right? And so when you do that, it leads you in a place where you're not in an advantage, but you're now at a disadvantage. What you want to do is show up, show out, show them what you're made of, what we produce, and what you're able to do. So I always tell students to stay focused there and don't think about what's next. And so I think that's critical and key. But most of all, have fun. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? Where you can come to LA, live for a summer, have an internship, walking around the back lot of Disney or Paramount or Warner Brothers or any of these companies, and you're there every day. Love it and enjoy it. All right. All right, I think our guest is here, right? Yes, awesome. So I'm going to, so hopefully, and we're going to have more of these sessions, guys. So please, 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 show up. I'm going to give basically kind of my same spiel in the beginning, but love to answer questions. We want to make our fall tour as robust as we can to give you as much information and tools as possible. But now it's time for me to introduce Christina Hatcher, good friend, also one of our board members. And this lady is phenomenal when it comes to helping you to prepare yourself from an internship to an interview to your branding, like amazing. So without further ado, Lisa, if she is ready, I'm going to let Christina come in. And I wanted this portion, and she actually was in my ear about this a while ago, that we really need to help you guys in terms of what your resume needs to look like, right? How do you sell yourself so that you give yourself the best shot at making it? Because sometimes if your resume just isn't up to snuff, you can be an amazing piece of talent out there and they're not even looking at it. So we wanted to give you this resource. And so I'm just honored that Christina's here to give you guys a little bit of her knowledge and expertise.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Stacey, for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here again.
Of course, anything for Stacey.
Thank you.
Lisa, I think I had actually seen the presentation up and then it went away.
Bear with me, y'all. She's, you know.
No worries at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we're all dealing with these Zoom struggles.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide. So I'll just introduce myself super quick for everyone who knows. Like Stacey said, I've been a board member for a few years now. I've believed in her program since like the first time we had a conversation. I am the VP of People and Culture for a marketing, media, and communications company called Acceleration. I was their first HR hire, so building out that function for them. Prior to that, I worked at Creative Artists Agency where I established the first partnership for the agency with this program. You all are incredibly blessed and lucky to be a part of this session and just, you know, be potential contenders for the program. It's so amazing. So I hope you all put your all into it because you will get so much out of it. And Stacey's incredibly passionate about what she does. And so am I about helping you all. I'll share, we can share my LinkedIn as well. So if you all have questions, I'm going to try to get through as much as I can in this presentation because we had to start a little bit of late and that was my bad. But if you all have any questions after, you can certainly feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I just ask that you share that you are part of this session so I know where the reach out is coming from. But without further ado, I will go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about writing a strong personal statement and cover letter, preparing your resume, and social media and brand identity. We can go to the next slide. So preparing your resume. So I know everyone is always thinking about like what should go on the resume, what should the format be, what's the rule of thumb, right? What I will say is there is no one size fits all approach. There are templates that people prefer to see. Sometimes in the creative realm, your template can have a little bit more flair. 9 times out of 10 in the professional realm, you just want to keep it very, you know, to the point. What I will say just in general, in terms of resumes overall, before you even start, even if you've already started, I would say start with what I call is a skills inventory. So you will want to take a blank sheet of paper and write down all of whether it was babysitting, whether it was working at a restaurant, whether it was working at the mall, wrapping presents during the holidays, like whatever it was, take all of your experiences that you've had to date. And I know they're not going to be a ton, right? So we get it. Companies understand that. But take all of the experiences that you've had to date where you have any level of responsibility and write down the skills that you feel that you've acquired, whether it's working in a fast-paced, high-pressure, high-demand environment, dealing with, you know, a lot of customers and having to have strong customer service skills as you're preparing food or delivering food or anything of that nature, babysitting, right? Like you have to have a certain level of like discretion and confidentiality and attention to detail, like all of those things, right? So never underestimate the experiences that you've had thus far and think about skills that you can, you know, kind of add to your skills inventory and organically weave into your resume. So we'll go to the next slide. So a resume should be a brief written account of personal, educational, and professional qualifications and experience as that prepared by an applicant for a job. And I say brief for a reason. Sometimes people want to like write their entire life stories in resumes, and recruiters just really do not have that much time to look at resumes. We can go to the next slide. And you can actually just pull up, Lisa, all like everything on each slide as it's coming up. Thank you so much. So for the resume essentials, you want to have your contact information, education, work experience, skills, and this is just the basic core elements that you want to make sure you have. Don't forget about your special accomplishments, extracurriculars, volunteer work, leadership activities. All of those are going to be super important right now because you don't have a ton of work experience. So in order for someone to get to know the core of you and what you can bring to their internship potentially, or the amazing, program for HBCU in LA, they want to know like, what have you done so far and what can you contribute from your experiences? We can go to the next slide. So things to keep in mind. The purpose of the resume, right, is to get you an interview. This is your calling card. This is a document that says, here is who I am, here's what I have done thus far, and here's what I can contribute to your role, to your program. Whatever it is that you're seeking to apply to, you want to get an interview, right? And you ultimately want to land the job, the internship, whatever it is that you're applying to. It's so important. Job descriptions are written traditionally by recruiters, hiring managers, and a hiring manager, just to clarify, may not necessarily be the recruiter. It could be the person that the role is reporting to. So that's the hiring manager. So they're traditionally written in partnership by a recruiter, a hiring manager, human resources, some version of that. But it's everybody that essentially is a part of hiring for this particular role. So don't take for granted that the job description is essentially a cheat sheet for what should be in your resume, right? Like, people don't pay attention to that enough of like, does my resume actually align with what's necessary for the job description? Sometimes you'll have one resume and you use that to apply for 3 or 4 different jobs. That's not going to work. Like, have multiple resumes, right? Organize your resume effectively. So we'll go through some information on just like how to organize your resume and things of that nature, but you just want to make sure that, you have like chronological order and it is clear and concise and to the point. And Lisa, you can keep bringing up the rest of them. So you just want to make sure that, again, your resume is your calling card. It is your headshot. So you do not need a headshot. I will say that again. The resume is your headshot. The resume is your calling card. There is LinkedIn. There's so many different things available. Some of you have personal websites that I've seen. There's so many things available where people can see your picture. Unless you are going for a casting call, you do not need your headshot on your resume. Give an overview, not your entire life history. I referenced that earlier. Think about your resume as real estate, valuable real estate. So at this stage, you all's resumes should not be over 1 page. So you have to figure out how to maximize the space on that page, the valuable real estate, to convey, here's who I am and here's why I am right for this particular role, this particular program, etc. Your resume is always a work in progress. I can't tell you how many times, and I still do it, and I'm at the VP level. I still update my resume regularly. I still will go in after I complete a new project. I'll add that to my resume. I'm constantly updating my resume because what happens is you start a role, you do a lot of amazing things, and then you forget what you did because it comes second nature to you and you're just like regularly doing these things, right? Well, to another company, or if you're looking for a promotion or again, like another internship, to other companies, the things that you've done are amazing and innovative, and you want to make sure that you show that and you keep track. So even if you're not putting it in your resume, make a habit while you're on your internships, make a habit while you know, as you're thinking about applying to different programs or you're working, you know, different positions, make a habit to say, like, to kind of jot down some notes around what the tasks that you are taking on, the responsibilities, the skills, like always go back to the skills inventory. Here are some new skills that I acquired today, right? Like you can always leverage that once it comes down to, okay, now I'm going to sit down and do my resume. Have multiple versions geared towards specific jobs and industries. That's so important. So you want to make sure that you are able to, once you're applying to whether it's a program like HBCU in LA or whether it is an internship, whatever it may be, you want to not have to continuously change one version of your resume, right? Because it's a competitive market out there. Everybody's applying a mile a minute. You want to be able to shoot your resume off after you double check that you don't have any typos, and after you've reviewed it, and after you've had like the thoughtful yet critical friend review it. You want to make sure that you are getting your resume out as quickly as possible. So if you know, I'm interested in TV, I'm interested in film, and I'm interested in business affairs, your business affairs resume on the legal side is probably going to look a little bit different than your TV and film, more creative resume, right? So just think about that when you're thinking about applying. Make sure that you kind of have a couple different versions of your resume as it makes sense. All right, so resume categories, contact info. So I know actually this question came up from one of the great questions that you all submitted. Should I include my address? You don't have to. What I will say is that, and I'm just going to be blunt with you all, some people, even though they're not supposed to, will make hiring decisions, even though they're not supposed to, based off of where you reside. So if you are looking to secure, now it's a little different when you're in an internship because people already know you're likely going to be out of state, you're in school, so it's fine. I'm just sharing in advance, once you start entering like the postgraduate world and you're applying for full-time positions, you're going to want to find, like, see if you can find a friend, like if you haven't moved yet, if you can find a friend, use their address, not even address, but just city and state. Always be mindful of what a recruiter and a hiring manager is thinking. If they need to fill a position, and traditionally in entertainment, positions need to be filled ASAP. They don't have time typically for you to move. Now, there are going to be exceptions for sure, but you just want to make sure that you have the best shot at landing the opportunity, right? Like, we're already people of color. Yes, there are all these initiatives and like broad scale change that's happening to create more access, but at the end of the day, it's still hard. And the entertainment industry is one of the most competitive industries to get into. I know, because I came from Alabama back in 2007, knew no one, and had to forge a path out here. And it is still hard. And we still have inclusion and diversity roles and all these roles where it's so important for people like me to be in them so we can grant access to people like you all, right? So you want to make sure that you up your chances as much as possible and don't give the hiring team a reason to say, I like to hesitate. So make sure your name stands out from the rest of the information. I want to be clear when I say it shouldn't stand out in terms of being like huge block letters at the top where it's like, honestly, all I'm focusing on is your name. Like, yes, it should stand out. Make it a couple points larger than the rest of your resume. It does not need to be massive by any means, but make it a few points larger than the rest of the text, just so it stands out, so people don't have to like hunt for your name. Include a direct link to your LinkedIn profile. For anyone who doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, you absolutely should have one. I'm going to go through LinkedIn a little bit later in the presentation, but make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. It is a professional network that tons and tons of recruiters are on. There, like business orgs and affiliations that you can be a part of. You can network on LinkedIn. Like, there are so many benefits to LinkedIn. So go ahead and include that on your resume so that if somebody does want additional information about you, they can go find it there. Education, List your most recent education first, include your degree, major, institution attended, mention any academic honors that you have, whether it's you graduated cum laude, or like as you're getting to that point, or any honor societies that you're a part of. GPA versus no GPA in entertainment is not really required. Like, I'll be honest, people aren't. We want you to achieve, and we want you to do amazing work in school. Absolutely, that shows your commitment, your dedication, your drive, but it is not a requirement traditionally to get certain positions. So it's totally up to you if you want to include it. I would just say, if it's on the lower end, just don't include it, right? Study abroad should also be listed here. Again, entertainment, like the cultural mecca. So if you have studied abroad, traveled, gained certain experiences that you feel can help you in the particular position or program that you're applying for, then go ahead and list your study abroad there. All right, work experience. So I'm not going to read through every single thing, but I'll let you all kind of glance through this a little bit. But you definitely want to make sure, outside of the obvious, like position, company, location, things of that nature, you do want to make sure that you have specific
Position, comma, company, national position, comma.
So when you're listing your experience, you don't want to just have June or July. You want to have specific month and year ranges so people can understand the length of your experience. Now, obviously, if it's an internship and you're like summer 2020, if there are certain months or dates, you can include that. But people traditionally understand when it's an internship. When you start getting more into your general work experience, you're going to want to have a specific month and year range so people can tell your tenure, like how long you've been at an organization. Again, make sure everything's in chronological order. Also, just watch your margins when you're thinking about formatting on your resume. I've seen resumes where people, for some reason, they're not looking at the alignment on the left and the right, and there's some words that are like hanging out past the margin on the left and the right side. It just looks sloppy. So just watch your margins and make sure that things are aligned properly. Skills, any type of computer technology, office programs. I mean, I'm gonna date myself a little bit, but I feel like I can't even keep up with all the things that you all have now from like a technology and a social media standpoint and all of those things. Make sure you include them, because again, you're thinking about what is going to be my key differentiator when I apply for a role, right? Like, this is elevated language. I want you all to start thinking now, because it's going to serve you so well. If you start thinking now, everything that you apply for, every role that you work in, every time you interview for something, what is my key differentiator? What's going to separate me from the tons of people that are on this Zoom right now that are trying to apply to Stacey's program so they can land their dream job in entertainment? What is going to separate you from the others? Think about that, period. What is my key differentiator? And be able to clearly articulate that when you're applying. Special accomplishments, extracurriculars, volunteer work. I've seen a few of the resumes. Include your volunteer work, any leadership activities, because we want to know, when have you exercised like independent judgment, for instance, or when have you had to rally a group of individuals around a common goal? When have you been rewarded or recognized for above and beyond efforts? Like, think about it that way. Don't just think about it in a linear way of like, here's what I've done, but like, when have you been recognized for above and beyond efforts? Lisa, I see a hand. I don't know if we're going to hold questions for the end or if we want to do questions like as we're going through. I'm totally fine, whatever you all feel comfortable with.
We're going to hold questions to the end, and people are going to message me directly what their questions are.
Okay, sounds good. Lisa runs the show too, y'all, so make sure you listen to Lisa. Lisa keeps us in order. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so use action verbs. So again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but always think about how can I elevate my language? You all are young, bright, smart, talented individuals. The bad part about that is sometimes you come across in your diction and your tone as young and what people refer to sometimes as green, meaning inexperienced. It's not a bad thing. It means that you have to start working on elevating your language. The only way that's going to happen is exposure and interacting with individuals who are already elevating their language. So I want you all to start thinking about that. That's why I say things like key differentiator. I want you to be saying that as you communicate why you're awesome to somebody, right? Like, so using these words, create, coordinate, and minister, instead of just saying, I brought, you know, people together. I coordinated a group of individuals to, you know, organize a concert or whatever it may be. I demonstrated excellence in XYZ area, right? I conceptualized an idea to bring a nonprofit or to partner with a nonprofit to make sure that we could do a clothing drive, or to ensure that we could do a clothing drive at our school. Like those types of things, again, they really show above and beyond effort, but they also show elevated language. They show maturity. They show like, okay, we can see this person working professionally in our environment and they're going to know how to communicate with presence. It's all about presence in the entertainment industry, period, hands down. Like you have to have presence. And I know it's not something traditionally that's like innate for us, right? But like you have to start figuring out ways to develop your presence, your confidence in yourself. You're here, you showed up today, you're clearly deliberate about pursuing opportunities in this space. So have that confidence in yourself. And if you don't, start figuring out ways to develop that. I shared a link at the bottom and Lisa can share this out, but it's just like 185 action words that can make your resume pop. There's this resource called the Muse website that that link will take you to. And you'll see a ton of words. So I'll let Lisa share that out with you all, but I just wanted to make sure that you all had that as a reference as you're thinking through different roles and responsibilities and how you can capture that in written form. All right. So in terms of cover letters, I have made this letter longer than usual, only because I've not had the time to make it shorter. So at times, people will make very wordy statements, cover letters, because they haven't taken the time to be thoughtful about what's going to resonate and what's going to stick. They're just like, I worked hard, I did all these amazing things, so you're going to know about all of them. That's not always helpful. It's not always as impactful. So you want to make sure, that you are communicating specifically about the role or program that you're applying to, and specifically looking at that job description saying, what are the needs, or the application? What are they looking for? How can I show that I am in alignment with that? Okay, so personal statement. I know Stacey mentioned that you all are going to have to, share information about yourselves. Like I kind of gave you, like a great way to communicate in terms of what is my key differentiator, right? So that's something that you can already think about. These professional traits are things that you should be reviewing regularly to say, how am I able to convey that I've shown up in this way, right? Like being professional means that you are taking the necessary steps to be viewed as reliable, respectful, competent. That is the key. That is the key across the board. It doesn't even matter what industry in. You want to be reliable, respectful, and competent. And that can take on many different forms depending on the job that you're in. So these are just some of the common traits. I'm fine also, Lisa and Stacey, if you want to share this out as individuals requested. But these are just some common traits that you should constantly be thinking about. Reliability. Can people depend on you to show up on time? And I cannot stress how important it is early in your career to show up on time, even early, like before it's on time. Now, some internships, they're very specific about don't show up early. You need to be there at a certain time because they don't pay overtime. You can still show up before clocking in. And by the time it's time to clock in, you're already up there grabbing your laptop or whatever it is that they're giving you to be able to execute in your internship, right? So just make sure that you are reliable. You submit things. Like when you have deadlines are so important. Entertainment industry is deadline driven, okay? Like if you miss a submission for somebody, they could not land a major opportunity or be considered for a major opportunity for their career. So it is extremely deadline driven. You have to position yourself in roles where you can show I've, upheld deadlines, I've consistently met them, and I've been on time and reliable. I'll speak about a couple more of these and then we can move on. Honesty, you tell the truth and you're upfront. It's so important also to be able to admit when mistakes happen and admit them in a timely manner. Sometimes people try to cover them up. It's not good. It's going to come out. Like I guarantee 9 times out of 10, when you think, oh, I'll just cover it up or I'll fix it. I can't tell you how many times, like, especially when I was at CAA, I'd have an agent call me furious because a client would call them saying that an assistant like messed up on their scheduling. So they showed up at the wrong location and the assistant was thinking that they fixed it and communicated in time enough. The client is not going to call the assistant 9 times out of 10. The client is going to be livid and call the agent, which would be your boss, right? So like you want to make sure that you communicate in a timely manner so that your supervisor has enough time to prepare and not be caught off guard. And you also communicate, here's what I'm going to do to make sure this doesn't happen the next time or another time, and to make sure that I am thoughtful, in my process and approach the next go around. So you're communicating solutions, you're communicating transparency and honesty, and being vulnerable to say, I'm not afraid to share, when I've made mistakes. Being positive. So one thing I will say about this, and it might not show, I'm an introvert. So at the end of this day, and Stacey knows because I've shared this several times, at the end of this day, I'm going to go lay down on my couch and talk to no one. I love having these conversations. I'm so passionate about helping my people and doing sessions of this nature. But you all don't even realize I've had like a slew of meetings. Like I literally came into this session off of a meeting where Stacey was helping like cover for me as I'm like telling her, okay, I'm coming. I'm an introvert though, so I recharge in solitude. It doesn't mean I don't like being around people. It just means that like for me to recharge, that's solitude for me. So I might not come across as super bubbly and exuberant when I'm tired, but I know that about myself. So I make sure that I put myself in position to get the rest that I need to, if I'm in my office or maybe I need to go step outside and, just kind of get some air and come back in, take the next meeting, or before I go to an event when we were, doing events heavily, I'm going to take as much time to myself as I can. So know yourself. That is the most important thing. Know yourself, know what it's going to take for you to show up in your best light and be positive without it being a front, essentially, right? Like sometimes we do have to show up and we have to act as if at times, I'm not going to say we don't, but do what you need to do so that you can show I'm here, I'm ready, and I've got this, right? Not like I'm exhausted and, I'm not really here. Like people can tell and they want you to be excited and they want you to be ready to take on, different challenges. We'll go to the next slide. All right, so your cover letter. Always submit a cover letter with your resume as required or necessary. And the reason why I say that is because the debate over cover letters goes back and forth. I always share, I've had recruiter colleagues that say, I always want to see a cover letter. Well, I don't personally, just to be very frank, unless it's a role that has to do with like PR, marketing, any type of role where I would need a writing sample because your job is writing, like press releases and things like that. But other than that, sometimes it makes sense when you have a lot of written communication, like emails and things like that. So if a cover letter is required, you should submit one. If it's not required and it's like optional, it's up to you. Sometimes it can be an advantage depending on the recruiter. And I'm just being frank, like there's no one size fits all. But if it's not required, I would say like you don't have to spend the time. There are so many companies that are not requiring cover letters. But when you are applying for a program like this or internships and things of that nature, they do traditionally want to know a little bit more about you. So they will require cover letters, which is completely standard and fair. Just make sure you tailor it to the position you're applying for. You're going to have a template, likely. I'm going to share a template with you. Make sure you change the company name, please, to the one that you are applying for each time, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone send me, especially when I was at CA, everybody's applying to all the agencies. They're sending me a resume for WME and I'm clearly at CAA, you know? So just make sure you pay attention to what you're submitting and adjust the company name. Address it to a specific person if you don't have a specific contact. So again, in this day and age, you all have access to LinkedIn, you all have your networks that you're building. So if you find a contact for the position on LinkedIn, now not the CEO, not like the highest ranking individual at the company, but if you find someone that is like specifically the contact for the role that you are applying for, feel free to address it to that person. But do not labor over it. If you cannot find that contact, say, dear hiring manager, dear recruitment team. That is a professional way, because it's either going to be the hiring manager or someone from the recruitment team that's going to be looking at your cover letter initially. So use one of those, but don't use to whom it may concern. It's very impersonal. It shows that like you were just so unaware of the hiring process and you didn't take time to be thoughtful to address it, at least in the general direction of where it should be going. Make it professional. This is not the time to talk about your family reunion or the type of like food that you really, really enjoy if the role is not related to that, right? Like just be professional. This needs to be as concise, to the point, about the role that you're applying for, and make sure you're professional. Don't be overly verbose or wordy, creative. Some people try to get cutesy. Here's why you should hire me. Like it just, I've seen people send the most or try to be the most creative when it comes to like sending in like a cover letter or a resume. One, I don't have time to review all of those things unless it's a creative role where I need to see a portfolio or something of that nature. That absolutely makes sense, because if I'm hiring a creative director, like in my current company, yes, I need to see portfolio. I need to see some creative samples, but otherwise, keep it professional. Like some people say, I was just trying to keep it cute. We don't have time for cute here, okay? Like keep it professional and keep it to the point. Next slide. Oh, I love that point, Lisa. Dear HBCU. So Lisa wrote in the comments for everybody to see, dear HBCU in LA Selection Committee. So we appreciate that, and we can connect the dots right away. So for cover letter structure, so this can be super helpful as you are creating your cover letter. So 2 to 3 lines. What are you applying for? How did you hear about the opportunity? The body and the background can be 5 lines. And again, like you don't always have to stick to just, well, she said 2 to 3 lines. I have 4, you know, like I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't go over 1 to 2 lines. This is just a general structure, right? Like I am not the recruiting guru, the all-knowing, all-seeing person, right? Like I am one of many, and there are a ton. So take my information from the standpoint of these are things that I have seen that have worked in the area, in the realm of entertainment where I've worked. They work for me personally. But again, It's not the end all be all. Why should I look at your resume? Sum up your relevant experience and skills. And it seems very direct, but like that's essentially what people are looking for when they're looking for, when they are looking at resumes. We are looking to see why. Like, why should I even get to your resume from the cover letter? So make sure that it's clear. And then thank the reader. Reiterate your interest, offer your contact information. But again, just make sure it's to the point. When I have my recruiting hat on, I just want to be able to quickly scan through. I'm probably not even reading the entire cover letter, to be frank. I'm just quickly scanning through to get some highlights.
And Christina, I will just say, like, all of those points, think about these paragraphs when you're thinking about your personal statement, because this is what I'm reading for when I'm looking at your personal statement. And it will get me to, even if, you know, your resume at first glance wasn't what I wanted, but you gave me something here, I will go back and look with more detail at your resume just because of this being implemented.
Yep, it's all about the substance. It's so important. Next slide, Lisa, please. All right, so this is a sample cover letter. So again, like I used earlier, dear hiring manager, dear selection committee, whatever, you know, you have access to information to, you should use that there. I'm writing to express my interest in this position. I was made aware of this opportunity through, so this line, a lot of times in recruiting, so we want to keep track of where our stellar candidates are coming from and how people are learning about our career opportunities, our programs, all of those things. So this is helpful. It's like a selfish thing for us. It's very helpful to let us know where you saw, you know, the opportunity. So definitely put that in there. And I was immediately excited about the role. Based on my background in X, Y, and Z, I'd be an ideal candidate for the role. Say the role again. Again, make sure that this is the right role. This is the right program for the person that you are submitting the cover letter to. Do not by any means continue to just copy and paste. Like, you might even want to use a different template if you don't feel like you can trust yourself to double check to change the name, right? So just make sure you're sending it to the right person in the right company. And then describe the qualifications and experience based on the industry. Draw from the job description and include keywords. So Stacey's program is about developing pipelines for like the future generation of leaders in the entertainment industry. It is about access to opportunity. It is about truly, like, she puts her money where her mouth is. Every single person that has gone through this program is in the entertainment industry. And I'm continuing to see LinkedIn updates about how they continue to climb and rise the ranks in the entertainment industry. So what is going to set you apart to say, Stacy and Lisa should bring you into this program so that you can get the opportunity to live out your dreams in entertainment? Like, I am not exaggerating here. That is what Stacy's program does. So you want to be deliberate about sharing what qualifications and experience you have, and passion, right? And motivation. Like, what change are you seeking in the industry? Like, what innovations are you seeking to, you know, create in the industry? Think outside of the box. Like, there are a lot of people that are obsessed with film and TV. That's not going to cut it, right? Like, think outside of the box and think about what contribution you can uniquely make. What is your key differentiator in the industry? And then if you have any questions or require clarification, please contact me at this number. Short, sweet, to the point. And this is a template that you can use regularly. All right. Okay. So social media and brand identity. So this can be a slippery slope, social media. We can go to the next slide, but it's so important to talk through it. So building your brand identity, LinkedIn, just quick overview, LinkedIn is professional. It's not, there's nothing cute about LinkedIn. There's nothing like, you know, artsy. It is professional. Like, the only artsy thing is like people sharing creative content in terms of like a seminar that they spoke at and they're sharing the link and things like that. But it is not the place to gossip. It is not the place to be unprofessional. It is not the place to reach out to individuals because you have an affinity for them and like you think they're super cool and you just want to talk to them. Like, it is professional. Like, I can't tell you how many messages I have in my inbox right now that I have not even been able to get to. That's why I also say be deliberate about your reach out, because when someone says, I came from the HBCU in LA session that you did, I'm going to prioritize those because I committed to that. So just think about LinkedIn is professional. It is an opportunity for you to be able to network thoughtfully and try to contribute something to someone's life that you may want something from. So think about how you can help them. Think about a way that you can share a piece of news or anything that's happening in the industry or something that resonated with you about their company. Think about it that way. And then in terms of your own profile, make sure that your profile matches your resume. So I've already seen a couple resumes where when I go to the LinkedIn profile, it doesn't line up. So I'm seeing experience on the resume that doesn't match what's on the LinkedIn. It's a big red flag for recruiters because we don't understand why you haven't taken the time to make sure that your online presence matches what you submitted for this particular role. So same way that you update your resume, make sure you are giving the same attention and love to your LinkedIn profile because we check both. So be sure that you're paying attention to that. This is also your opportunity to, in front of employers and thought leaders in the industry, post links to like news stories and business articles. Like, you can be seen as a thought partner and a leader, no matter your age, no matter your level of education. Like, you can stand out in that way and people can go like, oh man, like I didn't even, think of that, or I wasn't even aware of that, right? So, in the cool term, you can put people on. So like put them on to like news and thoughtful business articles and things of that nature that can give you recognition also and credibility in a certain space. Yes, professional recommendations. So you can also ask people for recommendations, which you should. They're usually like towards the bottom of the LinkedIn profile, but you can actually submit requests for recommendations. One thing I will say is that, again, like people at certain levels, it's not about, oh, I'm a VP or I'm this or I'm that. I'm just very busy, to be very frank. If somebody asks me for a recommendation, I appreciate when they kind of write one for me and say like, hey, would you mind if I would love to have a recommendation. Would you mind including these points? So whether it's like including certain bullet points or they write the recommendation for me and I post it. Again, you have to have a very solid relationship with someone to do something like that. But I'm assuming if you're reaching out for a recommendation, you trust that the person would like to actually give you a recommendation. So therefore, save them some time and just maybe write it out or like share a few different points and say, I would love it if you would include this in your recommendation. All right, now we can go to the next one. Thank you, Lisa. All right, so Facebook. So now we're getting into the more social aspects, right? Like Facebook, share pictures with your friends and family. It's much more casual. I will say though, like Facebook, IG, Twitter, all these things, businesses are starting to use social media or have been using social media way more than they were ages ago, right? So like, don't assume that because I'm on Facebook, nobody's watching. Companies will say, we don't make hiring decisions based off of social media. They do sometimes, okay? So they're not supposed to. I'm giving you the real, like companies are not supposed to make hiring decisions based off of social media, but they do sometimes. So unless you are completely private, but we know, again, if something is on the internet, when is it ever private, right? Because like your friend that you thought was your friend can share something, all of a sudden that goes viral. So just be mindful of what is on your social media across the board. If you are out drinking with your friends and partying, don't go on live like when you're trying to get into this program. Like, don't post the pictures of the shots and all that. It's like, do what you do in your personal time. No one is judging you. Like, I go out, I have fun with my friends, but the world does not see that. The world does not have access to my personal social life. They don't, nor do they need to. They may see pictures of me, like stills with friends, having fun, things like that, but just be mindful. Be mindful of your clothing, what's on your shirt. Sometimes I've seen like derogatory messages on someone's shirt in a social post that it's just like, well, that doesn't resonate with our company values, right? Like, you have to think about all those things, because again, while we're not supposed to be making decisions off of social media, something could pop up haphazardly and that causes you your dream job. So just be mindful. We can go to the next one. Instagram. So again, I referenced the stories, y'all, even close friends, like, be careful about what you put in your close friends' stories. Be careful about what you put in your stories. You know, social media has come up with crafty ways to make it seem like you have personal space and like only certain individuals can see things. I mean, even private pages, like, yes, make it private if you feel like you want to kind of be a little bit more daring or bold in your language and things of that nature. And in your posts, make it private. You know, yes, it does make it harder for sure for people to see your profile, but just remember, friends of friends that may be connected to you can still see your profile and can still access it that way. So just remember, like, you can never make an assumption that anything you put online is private. You can't. So just be mindful of that. You know, you can capture, edit, and share photos, but like ECOP and HBCU in LA has a page on Instagram, right? So like, you have to be mindful of those things. Again, professional organizations and businesses got hip to the game and said, oh, this is where everyone is right now. This is how I can capture their attention. Let me make sure I get on social media as well. So just be mindful of that. And then Twitter, the last one, again, like, some people go on Twitter rants. You make comments on people's tweets. Like, just be very, very thoughtful. Like, these are all slides that are just kind of sharing how you're using each platform, but just be thoughtful as you're connecting with alumni groups and professional organizations of interest, right? Like, remember, okay, I might have connected with this political commentator or this like hip hop artist or model or whoever, but now I'm also connected to like ECOP and HBCU in LA. You know, think about, remember what you're saying as you're tweeting, and just be thoughtful about the information that you're putting out there. We can go to the next slide. All right, so key takeaways: post smart, keep personal information confidential, meaning like keep it off social media, right? Like, just if it's not something that you would want the world to know about, then don't post it. It's very simple. Use privacy settings, because yes, that does help add like extra difficulty to finding the information. But again, just remember, you put something out there, there's always a chance that it can be viewed. Guard your image the same way that you think about showing up for and preparing for interviews and meeting individuals in a professional setting, right? Like, we don't want you to not live your lives and not have fun. Like, I like being able to see, you know, what somebody enjoys doing in their free time. I enjoy hiking. So if I see someone, you know, hiking or something, like, oh, like, you know, what trail did you go to, or the beach or travel and things like that. Like, it's totally fine. We want to see those things. But you just want to make sure that like overall you are not putting out anything that is not representative of you, of the professional version of you that you would like to share with an organization or a company that you aspire to work for, or a program that you aspire to be in. Google yourself. please, like everyone should do that as soon as they're done with this session. Google yourself and see what's out there, because you just never know. Sometimes a picture will pop up that you took ages ago that you did not even remember you took, that you might want to take down. So just Google yourself, see what is out there, and make sure that, again, your online presence is as polished as your in-person presence or your virtual presence. And the internet has no eraser. So again, you can take a picture down, but somebody could have screenshot it and already shared it in another post that you're not aware of. So just be incredibly, incredibly mindful always of what you're sharing on the internet, and know that anyone and everyone can see it at any point in time. Even if you're private, just make the assumption. All right.
Amazing. That was all super informative and super helpful. We have a few questions that we can take really quick before we wrap up. The first is gonna come from, please forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Cyan Shreve.
That was perfect. Yep.
Oh, look at God. All right.
Hi, Cyan.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Hi. I'm a TV and film major, Africana Studies minor from Howard University. And my question, and also thank you, everyone, for all the tips and advice you've been sharing. My first question is, how do you format short-term freelance jobs, like a 3-day or 2-day production assistant experience?
So you should just have like a section that says like freelance positions, or it can just say freelance, and then you can put them like directly underneath each other. So if you have, you can either work it within your resume as it makes sense, or you can just create a separate section that says freelance, because traditionally in like the creative realm and entertainment and things like that, people are already going to know that you're likely going to have like some gigs. So that's traditionally what they're referring to them as, is like freelance, opportunities or gigs. So you can just have a section that specifically references that, and then just put them in chronological order. So just put, if it was like a 3-month assignment or a 2-month assignment, whatever the time frame was, just make sure you're clear about what the duration of the assignment was. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. And if it was like a week long, would you say the specific dates of that as well, or just the month that it occurred?
Just put the month, and then you can share during the interview if it comes up. But traditionally, like, people are going to ask about each and every one of your assignments. So yeah, just put the month. But that was a great question.
Thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure.
Awesome. Next we have Santi Strickland.
Hi, I'm Santi Strickland.
Yes, you better correct us. Thank you.
Sorry, sis.
University Law Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And my question was, piggybacking off Cyan, what would you recommend someone put if they own their own business on their resume?
So I would put the name of the business, and you can either put like independent consultant or, something of that nature. So, or you can put like the business name, like by Santi Strickland, or, however, if your business name doesn't have your name in it, just put the business name and put like owner or consultant, like whatever makes sense. You also have to think about the field in which you're applying. So it just depends on, which position you're applying for. But I would typically put like the name of the business and then like owner or, consultant. If you do consulting work, it just depends on, the type of work that you do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Okay, we have Mia Pettigrew.
Hello, my name is Mia Pettigrew. I am a junior journalism and media studies major and a meteorology minor from Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. And I had a quick question, going back to when you were referring about community service hours. And I wanted to know, in order to save space on our resume.
Oh no, Mia, you went on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
We
In
heard
order
to save
to-
space.
Right.
In order to save space on the resume, can we just list how many hours we have volunteered, or is it still also required to put the hours and where we volunteered at?
So we want to know, like, so think about it this way. Your resume needs to inform to the point where the recruiter's not going to be able to ask you, Mia, questions as they're reviewing your resume. Traditionally, they're going to be looking at your resume, deciding if they want to speak to you after looking at the resume. So you want to make sure that they don't have, like, you want to eliminate as many questions as possible. So that means that you're going to want to put more information. So include, I would say, like, and also just for the resumes, I know you all are all amazing and stellar and have done all this great volunteer work, right? And like all these leadership activities. Think about what's going to resonate depending on the program or the position or the internship that you're applying for. You do not have to list every single thing, right? Like you can save some for the interview, you can save some for the phone conversation. Like you don't have to put every single thing there. So if you feel like you're running out of that valuable real estate that we talked about, then just eliminate some of the experiences that you have and maybe prioritize those that you may feel more passionate about or, you know, want to share more information about. So just be thoughtful about how much you're including, but you for sure want to say, you know, what the organization is. Because let's say someone said they volunteer with HBCU in LA. I sit on the board. So naturally, like that, I mean, there's a direct connection there, right? So it's like you want to, sometimes you can develop that affinity. Now, I'm not saying that people should be biased in terms of their hiring based on what's on your resume, but there can be an affinity and, you know, a mutual, you know, affinity where you can have conversation that can be sparked from that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Of course. Oh, girl, you do not have to call me ma'am, but thank you. Like, are you from the South? I'm from the South, Alabama. So
I'm actually,
I see the head shaking. See, people know, like, we're conditioned to say ma'am. Don't say ma'am in LA. Don't say ma'am in the entertainment industry.
being going to Jackson State, the Southern, it really rubbed off on me. So
I hear you. That's why I made a joke about it, but I'm like, when I moved here, I went to a staffing company and they specifically told me, do not say ma'am. Like, you will offend people because it's so real out here. And I mean, I get it. Like, people take it as age. They're like, they think you're calling them old, but you know, it's just one of those things that we were conditioned to do. So we have to retrain ourselves. Oh, someone said they don't want you to say ma'am or sir in New York either. I did, Lisa, if you want, I did pick like 2 resumes that I had up that I can go through like super quick.
Sure.
Okay.
I just want to say this before you get going. Victoria, Washington, I have enjoyed watching you during this presentation. You are so plugged in and engaged. I just had to say it. I was like, I hope she doesn't leave before I can say that to her. But I've
been nodding her head and like,
yeah, I've been observing her. She's like, I love this. So when I say to you guys, like, I scroll through this thing a lot, and so we pay attention.
And I've also been seeing people taking notes, which we love to see.
Oh yeah,
Really
I've seen a lot of that. So good stuff. Anyway, Lisa, go ahead and share those couple. And we know that we told you guys 5:30. So, you know, if you leave, it's not like we're gonna, you know, penalize you. But I think it'd be really good for you to see a couple of these resume samples and for Christina to just kind of talk through them from a professional standpoint.
And I can, Lisa, if you want, so Ariana was the first one. I was going to share, but I think it's disabled.
I can do it.
Okay, perfect. Ariana was one, and then I'll do, let's see, what was the other one?
Did you want to see the LinkedIn's as well, or are we just doing resumes?
So we can look at the resume and then go to the LinkedIn after the resume. So it's Ariana, and then Thomas will be the next one. Forgot you.
Got it. I'll have it queued up.
Okay, perfect. So first and foremost, when we scroll down a little bit, a couple things. So I appreciate the detail I appreciate like the very specific detail of like, here are the responsibilities, here were my contributions. I can clearly see there's a passion for like multicultural work. There's a passion for like media, entertainment, right? Like PR, production, all of those things. So you can clearly see, and we can scroll back up, you can clearly see even in the skills, you know, what programs have been used, all of those. Again, we want to think about real estate. So the overarching theme that I get from this resume is I've done a lot of amazing work thus far, so I'm going to make it all fit. The issue with that is it looks very crowded and it's hard on the eyes. So I traditionally say, if you are, so use bullet points to separate your information, right? Because it's like right now, when I look at like multimedia intern, for instance, I'm like, is this a paragraph? Are there multiple sentences? Like I see a lot of responsibilities in here, but make the information as easy as possible for the recruiter to read through. So separate it with some bullet points and have them be like super clear and concise. Participate in various training activities such as marketing skills through brand creation, including intellectual properties. Like get as specific as possible and like separate those out by bullet points. So you don't even have to say like participate in various training activities. Participated in activities including marketing skills through brand creation, intellectual properties. Like try to take out the filler words as much as possible, because like we're not always looking for complete sentences in a resume. We want to know what you did, how you did it, what was your contribution, and all of those things, but we don't need the filler words. So just be thoughtful around that. And then I would say, so purple is my favorite color. However, it's not as professional in a resume. So I usually say black and white, navy, something that's like, if you want to get a little, you know, playful with the color, but something that's just dark and very, you know, easy on the eyes is what you want. So I would just say like in the top, maybe you can kind of make the border a little thinner so you can have more space. If you can scroll down, Lisa. And then references available upon request. This is like a very antiquated thing that people put on resumes. You can take that off, give yourself more space. And then I would just say the only other thing, if you can just go up a little bit, Lisa, in the volunteer and extracurricular activities, this is a lot. So similar to, I'm so sorry, I can't remember who asked the question about the activities, but it was a great question, like truncate your activities. So figure out what's the priority, figure out like your top few, and then just kind of start shaving the rest off and talk about them in an interview or use them on a different resume. But that's a lot of volunteer and extracurricular activities when you have some really good, solid like work and internship experiences that you can expand upon. And then like high school, you don't necessarily need, like you're about to move into the working world, so you can take your high school off. The only thing we care about at this point is if there's a degree requirement for a program or an internship, we're looking at college. So you can take the high school off. I know that was super quick. Since I picked your resume, Ariana, you can absolutely follow up with me on LinkedIn, and we can take a deeper dive after you've made some of those edits. But I hope that was helpful. And then Thomas.
Gotcha. Do you want to see her LinkedIn as well, or just?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that I was going to say about the LinkedIn, because I do remember, was that it didn't necessarily match the resume. So one, if you just scroll back up super quick, I love how professional and clear like the picture is. I also love that you have like personality in your banner. I think that's totally fine. So we can scroll down, like her headline is strong, like Forbes 30 under 30 scholar, like she's like I'm not playing games with you all, okay? Like, I have put in the work and I've come to show up, and I want to make sure that's clear. So I appreciate that. And then scroll down. So I just noticed in the experience, oh, actually, no, you were right, Lisa, you're good. We can stop real quick at the about. So I like this. I mean, I think it's very thoughtful. I will say you might want to be a little bit more focused though on, like, when you say gaining skills in communications, like, what's your ultimate goal? Is there a role? If you haven't decided yet, that's totally fine. But is there a role or roles in communications that, or areas of specialty that you're thinking about that can also help someone if they come across your profile to say, oh, like, I know someone that's interested in PR, or I know someone that's interested in like corporate comm or crisis communications, you know, they might want to help you. So you might just want to be a little bit more targeted in that. And now we can scroll down to the background. So just make sure that your LinkedIn matches your resume. I'm looking at the resume just on my side, and it's very clear that some of the things that are on your LinkedIn are not on your resume. Like, I don't think Showtime is on your resume. That's a very reputable company. So just make sure that your LinkedIn matches your resume and your resume matches your LinkedIn. You don't have to have everything expanded on your LinkedIn in terms of like roles and responsibilities. You can include a few highlights, but you definitely want to make sure that like a Showtime is on your resume. You want to make sure that these companies with strong brand names are on your resume. You've got the experience, regardless of whether it was 3 months or not, you got the experience. So just make sure that there's alignment there. All right, and we'll go to Thomas. I know we're like way over time. Okay, so Thomas's format, I will say I really like. I traditionally use formats like this, like for my own resume or when I'm helping people make resumes, because it's very clear and clean, and it's not like busy on the eyes, right? So like recruiters always want to be able to just look at something that is clear. We're looking at a ton of different documents, right? So it just needs to be clear. He has his LinkedIn up top. Ariana also had hers. So super important. I think the only other thing, like, you might want to just have, you know, city and state in terms of your location at the top. For Morehouse College, so business administration candidate. So I appreciate that you are a candidate in business administration, but put like the type of degree that you're pursuing. So you want to just be clear with like what, and yes, like it can be a BA or BS or whatever, but just like instead of business administration candidate, like just add like the exact type of degree that you are pursuing as well. I like the graduation, May 22, because you want to have that there. Some people put expected graduation, anticipated graduation. You have graduation, but like some people just kind of put the anticipated or expected, just so people know it's not happening like tomorrow, like it's, you know, kind of in the future. Great, you know, GPA. The only thing I would say, like in terms of key skills, and I think somebody asked this question too about personal statements, I'm not big on them. Some recruiters will say, yes, include them because it helps give me a brief of your background. Again, it's going to vary by recruiter. I personally think it takes up valuable real estate when I could see that whatever you're putting in your personal statement down in the body of your resume. Like, I'd much rather the substance be in the body of your resume as opposed to like a completely separate statement. So like key skills, excellent verbal and written communication, analytical ability, innovative and creative thinker. That's amazing, but I can't tell any of that outside of like the written communication because I can see your resume. I can't figure out the validity of that from just looking at your resume. So that to me takes up valuable real estate, whereas like you can talk to me more about what you're doing in your different roles that exhibit you have excellent verbal communication, or opportunities where you've had to flex your analytical muscles. So if you talk about, I did an analysis on XYZ festival, or I created a grid with all the up and coming docs that are, coming out. Innovative and creative thinker, I conceptualize an idea, for our film festival group to partner with X, Y, and Z client, like those are ways that you can show, like put the, proof behind the words. So if I were you, I would take out the key skills completely, and I would figure out a way to show, like, to clearly speak about specific projects that you've done that show these different skills, if that makes sense. And then the rest, I would say, like I said, I love the format. I think it's very clean, concise, to the point. You don't have, too many things in your additional information. I don't think we see, is there anything else at the bottom, Lisa, or is that the bottom? Okay, so I don't think we see any technical skills. Was it at the top, Lisa?
I think the key skills is what he was going for with that. But
okay, so we need technical. So if you want to put some skills up here, refer back to the presentation where I shared like technical skills. So we need to know, I'm sure you use like some proprietary programs that may be, only like film artistic, like production assistant for the film artistic. So maybe they had some programs that only they use. Like when you worked on the film festival, think about different programs, think about computer operating systems, think about, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Those are all the types of things that are going to be helpful when you put in skills. So change key to technical, and then just remove that sentence and put in all the technical skills that you have, and then show and prove in the resume how you exhibit the other skills. And again, I know we had to do this super quick. So Thomas, since I pulled your resume as well, reach out to me on LinkedIn after you've made those updates, and I'm happy to provide additional feedback from there. And you all should know now you have another resource in the industry, whether you are in the program or not, you showed up today. So I can't say how many times I say, like, leverage me, and people may not reach out. I'm not going to respond to you tomorrow. I'm not going to respond to you today. I can be honest about that, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. I will try to get back to you at least within a week. But your network is your net worth in entertainment, so leverage it accordingly. And then, yes, thank you, Lisa, again. See, she keeps us together. So the LinkedIn picture is very professional. The only thing I would say, when you have Thomas Justin Fuller, do you go by Justin or do you go by Thomas? If you go by either name, just for the sake of clarification, I would take one or the other off. That being said, since we're not talking together, I don't know the impetus behind that. So if that truly has meaning for you, then you can absolutely leave it, but it can be a little confusing if somebody's reaching out. They might be like, so do you go by Thomas or do you go by Justin? So just be thoughtful about that. Let's see, media finance is CAA, my alma mater. I love it. So current business administration candidate, enthusiastic and proficient leader. The only thing I would say about the statement, you haven't necessarily had the opportunity to prove that you're a proficient leader, right? Because you're still growing in your career. So if there are ways that you have proven that or have exhibited leadership roles and opportunities, say that instead, right? Like, we want to keep away from the fluff. We want to be able to say, like, I exhibited leadership skills by doing X, Y, and Z. But I love how you have, content and, you're staying very active within LinkedIn. All right, and then let me just look at the resume again. So again, we have things on the resume that don't match the LinkedIn. And I also know that this was like a last minute request, because I asked as well to get the resumes. but make sure that your resume matches your LinkedIn. Like, I don't see HBCU in LA cohort, you know, on the LinkedIn. Like, you just want to make sure that things match. I don't think I see, yeah, CAA is not on here. So I didn't know until I looked at your LinkedIn that you were an intern at CAA. So again, just make sure you all have some amazing experiences. Like, the resume is the place to put all these amazing companies. So just make sure that you are taking the time to share, you know, that information consistently. And I think someone sent me a note in the chat. If you can just message me on LinkedIn, I will be happy to review your LinkedIn profile. Brianna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, guys, don't be overwhelmed. I know it was a lot of information, but you know, we try to give you everything. But you know, we're gonna have, you know, more info and things like that. But I just thought that this was so important for you, at least to hear it from you know, from a professional recruiter, someone who's worked in HR, who's done a lot around talent acquisition. And I can't think of anybody better than Christina, and I just appreciate her doing this for us. But hopefully you've gleaned a lot. Guys, please apply, share it with your friends. This is an amazing program. I think the thing that sets this program apart is the fact that this is a community. We are a community, and I don't know that anyone does it quite like we do. So
they don't. I'm sorry, Stacy. I have to cut you off. Like, Stacy is so humble, y'all. Like, Stacy and Ted. Hello, Ted. I see you there. They care so much. That's what sets them apart. They care, and they want you all to win. And they work insanely hard to bring some amazingly talented people in front of you all and give you exposure, not only to the creative side, but those who have the power to like walk you into these buildings and rooms and career opportunities. So it's amazing. There is not a program like this. I've worked at top entertainment companies and developed partnerships with companies that I wish were like this. We need more programs like this. There is not one like this. So do what you can, be thoughtful. This is it. And I'm gonna be quiet.
Thank you, my dear. So with that, guys, I think we're done. I just love being able to share this program and look forward to seeing your applications. Like I said, don't wait till the last minute. When this application opens tomorrow, get started. You can go back and change it as many times as you want. At the very beginning, I forgot to introduce the entire team and crew. Christina mentioned Ted, who is my husband, who you know, allows me to do this work, supports me full 100%. Lisa, who you know, but Leonard Washington is here. Leonard, do a wave. Leonard is our Chief Operating Officer and an amazing, amazing talent that we have on our team. And so we are committed to you and look forward to going through this process with you and seeing you throughout the course of the fall and all the workshops that we will bring. Sierra Brown, wave over there. She's also a part of our team, keeps me in line and all kind of hats we're gonna have her wearing. She's new to the team, so welcome. But just wanted to just kind of flag a few folks that I knew are out there in the audience, but thank you guys. Hopefully you've gleaned a lot and hope you're excited about this. So those law students that are out there, there are opportunities for law, okay? Lots of opportunities for law. And we're gonna be announcing a really exciting program that's gonna be coming up. So post internship and then after graduation, we're gonna be doing an HBCU, we're gonna be doing a law fellowship program, law and policy. So you'll stay tuned, there'll be more information, follow us. That's the best way to stay in touch, but thank you guys. It's been an awesome first conversation about this program and our resume workshop. So I'm expecting to see some stellar, amazing, good looking resumes. But yeah, I think that's it. So thank you guys. And Lisa, you can share whatever information, especially on the what was it, the words that she had. What did you call it, Christina? The action
the
words.
list, yeah, the action words, the
Yeah.
184. So that's the Muse link. I shared my LinkedIn profile in the chat too,
Okay,
but
great.
Lisa can feel free to share that out as
Great.
necessary.
Right, so
And,
everybody just stay tuned. We'll have information in the coming weeks about where you can get this recording. I'll be sure to share just some recap information that Christina shared. Again, application opens tomorrow. We can't wait to see your applications. And yeah, I think that's all we had to share. Does anybody else have anything before we wrap it up? Wonderful. Y'all can unmute and say bye.
Thank you so much.